Tim.
All right, candidates, well, to quote Ms. Morgenthau, everything costs too damn much. People at home are feeling the crushing weight of inflation, increasing the cost from everything from groceries to gas and more. Look, many economists think the American Rescue Plan Act, which among other things provided another round of stimulus checks, spent too much money and worsened inflation. Critics include a man I've already quoted in this debate, Obama financial advisor Jason Furman, who point to other countries who had less generous relief packages and lower inflation. Mr. Siegel, in retrospect, do you agree with Mr. Furman that the bill was too big or not?
I very much disagree with him. And he cites certain countries where there might be lower inflation than there is here. I know of many countries where there has been very high inflation and that have not seen the recovery that we saw. I mean, it's been an extraordinary phenomenon, especially as somebody who served in the assembly during the fiscal crisis, when it's having to push back against cuts to cities and towns because the federal government failed to step in and do what it needed to do to support people in their livelihoods the way that it did this time around. And so I think the stimulus made a lot of sense, and I think we need to take other measures to push back against inflation, like going at price gouging, like imposing an excess profit tax and returning the proceeds to people to help them through the inflationary crisis, like breaking up big corporations that we've afforded pricing power over the course of recent decades as we've allowed them to monopolize various industries, and of course accelerating the transition to renewable energy so we never have to deal with gas price-based inflation again.
Where have you seen evidence of price gouging?
And I mean, look at the oil markets. I mean, we see prices, and I point people towards studies done by the Groundwork Collaborative. They listen in on meetings between corporate executives and their shareholders that are required as part of SEC compliance, and people are bragging about the fact that they've been able to use inflation to mask price increases. It's an extraordinary problem, and we need government to act to fix it.
Ms. Morgenthau, what do you feel on this? In retrospect, do you agree with Mr. Furman that the bill was just too big and there's a lot of money sloshing around in the country, or was it just right?
No, Tim, I don't. When I have been going from community to community, I am hearing from seniors, I am hearing from veterans who are living on fixed income that things cost too much. And I think that President Biden passed some very necessary legislation and signed into bill during some difficult times during the pandemic. I am pleased that we had the Infrastructure Act. I am pleased that we passed the CHIPS Semiconductor Act. I am pleased that we passed the Inflation Reduction Act. I think those were really important stimuluses that we needed to get ourselves out of hard times.
But ARPA specifically, you named a bunch of other acts. So I understand you correctly, you say that that was the right amount of money. Do you have any concern that it hurt people at home because the costs have gone up for products because of inflation?
No, I think that people were hurting. Things were, people were out of work. They were losing loved ones. People were sick, and they needed to get a hand. They needed, businesses were falling apart, and so we needed that stimulus. And frankly, it was that stimulus that kept our economy going.
Mr. Magaziner.
Yeah, listen, I was in Coventry the other day, and I met a young woman who makes $13 an hour working at a tractor supply company in Johnston, and she's skipping meals because she can't keep up with the cost of living. It's a moral outrage, and working people like her do not have too much money in their pockets, whatever the people on the right want us to think. Where there is too much money sloshing around in the system is when there are billionaires shooting rockets into space paying a lower tax rate than working people. That's wrong. But here's the point. There are things that Congress can and must do to help lower the cost of living and lower inflation. So we absolutely need to go after price gouging. The big oil companies, the big oil producers have made $100 million in profits this year, not revenue, profits, at a time when Rhode Islanders are paying $4 or $5 a gallon for gas. That is wrong. It is morally wrong. I'm in favor of temporarily suspending the gas tax until prices come back down. And we need to do more to tackle the cost of health care and food as well. I have plans for all of that. But we have to keep focused on the right thing here, which is that working people are struggling. They do not have too much money in their pockets. They're not earning enough, and they're not keeping up with the cost
So
of
to that
living.
woman in Coventry, you were okay with the size of ARPA?
She needs our help, just like working people all across the state do. And that's why in Congress I'm going to prioritize lowering the cost of energy, lowering the cost of health care, lowering the cost of food, and raising wages, the same things that I fought for here as state treasurer in Rhode Island.
Ms. Fox?
it's easy to be a Monday morning quarterback on something like this. So yes, I think it was the right size, especially when you go back to what we were facing at the time, COVID, people out of work, et cetera. The fact of the matter is, regardless of inflation, recession, pandemic, this economy will be in transition for a very long time. So how are we going to help Rhode Islanders who want to live and work here be able to afford that, because the cost of living is too high? I've had many conversations with friends who have gotten very crafty with their Stop and Shop gas points, for example, among other things. So there's things that we need to do, short-term and long-term. Short-term, there were things that worked during the pandemic, like the child tax credit, universal free lunch in school, which I think is ending this week. That's something we could continue right now to help working families. We could also, once and for all, make paid leave permanent, something that we need to do. And the other thing that I hear time and again when I'm out is workforce development. We started this conversation talking about education. Education is key to our economic success here, and we need to make sure that job training opportunities are ready and there for people to take advantage of and to participate in this economy that will be in transition for a very long time.